here. It's early March. It's our favorite time of the year, not just because we've got an extra hour of sunlight with daylight savings time, but also because it's property tax assessment time. So go to your mailbox, have a look inside, grab your envelope from Service New Brunswick like I just did, take a look, and if yours is anything like mine, then yeah, bit of a bump this year. I guess it is what it is. But if you look at yours and you really feel like your assessment is out of whack, then before you go on a Facebook or Twitter rant, what I recommend is Google New Brunswick property tax assessment information. And the first link that comes up is going to be the Service New Brunswick site that allows you to poke around your neighborhood and have a look at your neighbors' assessments and see if yours is, give or take in line with those of your neighbors. Keeping in mind that you should take a look at homes that are, give or take the same size and age. But you'll quickly, get a sense for whether or not your home is drastically overassessed. If you're not sure about that, maybe call your friendly local real estate agent, ask them if if your assessment is kind of crazy or too high. And, if you decide that you need to contest your taxes, then the little form's right in the bottom of the page, and you just fill that out and send it in, and you should feel comfortable doing that. But what I really want to talk about is a group of people who aren't going to be comfortable doing that, who tend to not contest their taxes, who tend to not complain on Facebook, and tend to not talk to their friends and family about it at all. And that is the elderly. And so while you're on Service New Brunswick, poking around, being nosy, take a couple extra minutes and look up your Uncle Joe, your Aunt Mabel, look up your Nana's home, and then look at the neighbors and see whether or not you think it makes sense that where their assessment is compared to their neighbors and the people around them. And the reason I ask you to do that is in the last 10 years or so, if there's one thing I've noticed, it's that the elderly have a tendency to be drastically overassessed. Not always, and I don't think that there's a conspiracy afoot to overtax the elderly. I think that what happens is that as a neighborhood grows, there's new construction, there's people doing additions, there's people doing significant renovations, and the assessments are just gradually increased over time. And if someone's been in their home for 40 years, they may not have had the same upgrades. Their home might be smaller compared to the neighbors. But if there's one thing I've noticed, it's that the elderly tend to not contest their taxes. They tend to not question it. And if anything, sometimes we're brought in as real estate agents and we're asked to assess a home, and we look at the assessment and we find that they've been overtaxed by 50%. I've seen some where it's double, that their homes are assessed at twice what the homes are actually worth. And that can have a real impact on people if they're making plans based on the equity in their home. Then having a home overassessed by 50,000 or 100,000 or whatever the amount can have a really impact on their plans in the coming years. So when you're online looking at your property tax assessments, before you go on your Facebook rant or your Twitter rant, please take a minute to check out the assessments of some elderly friends and families or neighbors, because they're uncomfortable conversations to have, but it's worth doing so because they do tend to be overassessed. So that's my real estate tip of the week. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, jake@jakepalmer.ca, and my phone number is 506-650-0092. Thanks very much. Have a great week.